Welcome to the LPA podcast. I'm Mia Pellman and I'm joined by three industry experts to talk about the biggest debate in real estate, the difference between a listing agency and a buyer agency. Joining me today, I have MD Benjamin Beezer from the agency who position themselves as the agency for owners. I also have MD Eric Holmglen from Beecham Estates from London, and of course our resident host Sean Woolley from Cloud9. Together, we're going to break down how each of these models work and where they clash and how each can shape the future of a buyer's experience. Let's get into it. Great, so let me start with you, Ben, from the agency. Now, funnily enough, on my way to my office, I drove past one of your very big signs on a very prominent road in Nueva Andalusia, which says, "We're the agent for homeowners." And it's a massive sign. It takes up the whole line of the plot in big bold letters. So tell us, what does that mean? Because you're a new kid on the block, like Eric here, and we'd like to hear more about you. Why are you here?
Well, there's, I think, a lot of implications to that statement. On one side, potentially every client that will approach us will become a homeowner, right? Be it a buyer or be it a vendor. So they should, the goal is that they are homeowners or they will become homeowners. But yes, in a market, especially here in Marbella, where everything seems to be buyer driven, there's a lot of attention towards generating those leads. And I think the buyers are flooded by options and advertising and social media. We tend to try and shift a little bit the attention towards our homeowners, right? Who's taking care of our homeowners? And there's more to it. I mean, this is probably a defect of my profession in the past years. When you're selling something, you probably want to have certain control over the supply, right? So I like to, and it's also a bit more of a boutique approach. It's not so much a focus on volume, on let's generate hundreds of leads, which we do as well. Don't get me wrong, we do as well. But also a bit more of a boutique approach, because in my experience, dealing with a homeowner is completely different than dealing with a buyer. And once you start accumulating a few listings, you will realize how much work and dedication, hard work goes into it. There's a whole operation, there's a whole infrastructure of people reporting, keeping those listings updated in the CRM and the MLS, Immobalia, etc., how we call it here. So it's a different business model, I would say, if you want to pay a little bit more attention, and it also pays off. But I think it's just maybe a different business model, and I also believe that Marbella, in such a dynamic, creative, and unique market, I think not only has room for these kind of different approaches, but I also think it's quite necessary. And some other players who've maybe focused on that kind of strategy have proven to be very successful as well.
Yeah, it seems to be mainly the high end that do the listing side of it.
Probably, yeah.
I haven't seen a mid or a low range coming in to do that kind of sort of perspective. But normally you guys, I mean, you're from America, you're big, bold, with that kind of have a nice day mentality.
Yeah.
But you're quite celebrity led, aren't you, in America?
As well, yeah. The agency is known for having a clientele of very sophisticated, celebrity, kind of high net worth individuals. Correct, yeah.
And do you think that will kind of reflect well in Marbella? Because although I believe there's plenty of, let's say, ego in Marbella, I also think there's quite a lot of people that want to keep under the radar and they want their privacy respected. So do you change the model for this part of the world?
That's a very good point, Mia. It's correct. I mean, on one side, let's face it, Marbella is as well a very glamorous, a very, noisy and bright place. So I think our bold marketing will suit many of our clients, but absolutely. Then we also have this other side, which for me, it's kind of more the original Marbella, where people are very discreet. Most of the people in Zagaleta, they don't want to even, mention or let people know that they have a place in Zagaleta. A lot of celebrities as well. Yeah. So I think, with this approach, especially depending on what segment of our industry you're working with, if you're working with a higher end luxury, you definitely need to have both skills. You need to be able to provide and marketing that is going to be very noisy, very bold, that is going to position those properties and that people will see those properties. But oftentimes you also need to know how to manage a listing very privately using your private networks. We're actually the agency, as you pointed out, being a brokerage that has been associated with celebrities and such amount of high net worth individuals. We actually also do have certain ways and technologies how we can promote privately and very exclusively those listings.
You can't leave us there. Come on, come on.
This podcast,
We're all
is more focused to our fellow brokers or to my end client. I don't know how much of my strategy I want to give away. No. Listen, it's very simple. I think it's first setting yourself a goal, a strategy, and if you decide you want to do this, there's going to come a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of responsibility, and infrastructure, people, and technology. And the agency, for example, some things I can disclose. We do have, for instance, a way of publishing pocket listings with blind information, so no photos, but I can say the area. Let's say, put an example in Marbella. I may have a pocket listing in Zagaleta, and it may even be POA. I'm not going to disclose the price. But there will be a way where I can publish that I have this house in Zagaleta, and all my brokers will, if they have a client in Zagaleta who's been searching, didn't find anything, he visited everything that is in the market, eventually he will look into that database and he will go like, hey, Ben, you posted that you have a pocket listing. So more or less, what's the situation here in that? Then we will qualify the client, proof of funds, etc. And eventually I will bother my vendor. So this is a technology that we have implemented in our MLS, worldwide, where all the 3,000 brokers we have worldwide have access to. Here in Marbella, we do it differently, right? How we promote our pocket listings. But I see this also integrating in our industry here. But for this, and this is probably a discussion for another podcast, we need to regulate our industry in order to be able to do those things responsibly and exactly with reliability and with transparency.
And in total, how many offices do you have throughout the world?
Today is, yesterday was 133. We're growing so big. Marbella office was number 101, and this was December 2023. So just under 2 years, we are at 133 at least. Last few days I checked.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. And Eric, you almost a similar format, but from good old London.
From good old
London.
London. Yeah, absolutely.
Beach place. I love it. One of my favourite roads.
Yes, absolutely.
And you guys are in the same category with this because your buyers aren't so celebrity led. However, I'm sure there's a lot of high net worth listing clients for you.
Yeah, so I mean, again, similar to what Ben was saying, it's being a listing agent is a lot of work, right? It's setting up the whole strategy, and it's different for every listing that you take on, right? Generally speaking, because they all have their own little quirks or whatever the owner wants to achieve, right? But it's all about looking after them, like Ben said, devising the strategy, making sure the communications is in place, and looking after them to the best of their abilities, and also giving them access to our network.
Yeah. So
which has been grown over the last 45 years, which is the key to us. So in terms of celebrities and sports stars, we're probably the only place that we are not the strongest, but I mean, we have royal families, we have titans of industry, we have some of the wealthiest people in the world that we can call for certain listings.
Listings. And in total, how many offices do you have worldwide? How does that work for you guys?
So again, we're very boutique. We're not a franchise. We're all owned by Gary Hersham, who founded Beecham Estates in 1979. So we have 2 in London, 4 on the French Riviera. We have Mykonos and Marbella.
Okay, great destinations.
So it's some good destinations and a good flow in between all the offices. They're all kind of in key wealth hubs and so forth. And obviously the London office has a natural connection to Marbella and Costa del Sol, and so we have a lot of clients from London that own properties.
So you do have that crossover, because I still believe the British client is one of the strongest clients that's buying. When you get a British client, they already have this long-standing love for the Costa del Sol.
Yeah, I agree.
So half of the job is done. It's just that they've made it so difficult for the Brits to purchase over here now, and there's a lot of scare tactics going on and lots of negative press at the moment. So
in the UK, there's a lot of negative press. Are you finding that,
unfortunately, with your move out here? With
no, for me personally, or just for the
your clients. Yeah,
we haven't really seen it yet. I think if you have a certain level of wealth, there's easier ways you can kind of get around it, and I think a lot of people, like you say, there's a strong connection to Costa del Sol, Marbella from the UK and from London. And we have a lot of clients who are here, who have bought, who are developing, and you know, who are already active here on the coast.
And
so
are they
we haven't really
clients
seen that yet.
that would spend more than 180 days here, or are they buying these 5 to 10 million euro houses and they're just here for a month?
Most of them are second, third, fourth homes, so come and go.
Come and go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
it's so
lucky
different,
them.
isn't it, Sean, from what we do?
I know, from what we do. I mean, I've always thought in this market, it's you're either a listing agent or you're a buyer's agent or a property finder, and it's very hard to do both really well. So you kind of, I mean, I assume the same is true for you. You kind of go into one of those molds, and so we've been a property finder for the last 25 years. That's how it started. You know, in the days when it was easy to post something on the internet and be number one on Google the next day. You know, those were the days, and you just, you know, you'd put a development up there and you'd get inquiries. And so we just naturally fell into that role and became quite good at it. I think to be good at it, though, you need to have a machine. You need to have a marketing machine, and you need to have a machine that knows how to handle inquiries. Volume inquiries, web inquiries, which, you know, most of them are meaningless, but you have to sift through it all to find the golden nuggets. And all you guys do is go out and have lunch with prospective vendors, and, get the photographer around, get the videographer around.
Well, do you? Let's find out. Tell us.
If it was only that easy, I'd have a very comfortable life in Marbella. So,
in all seriousness, how do you get that listing? Because it can't just be sitting in the office waiting. There's got to be.
Because I wanted to know, do they come to you because you're Beecham or because you're the agency? Is it the name, or is it what
flyering?
you offer?
What is your?
I think again, there's a lot of mix. Of course, networking plays a big part of it. Like anything, you know, you have lunch with people, you build up the relationships, they refer you, etc., etc. The brand helps, of course. You know, the network we have helps, of course. I'm sure same with the agency. You know, with 133 offices, there'll be a lot of buyers and so forth that are looking to buy or to sell. In Marbella or the surrounding area. So yeah, it's a mixture of a lot of things. But once you have the listing, that's when the hard work starts, right? So,
but you would think, maybe I'm just being contrary just for the sake of it, but you would think that obviously you're fairly new to Marbella, although you've got terrific businesses, and I'm sure you're really good at what you do. But why would a vendor who's maybe been here for 20 years give that listing to you guys and not to, I don't know, another agency who's been here longer, or to me or Mia? Poor old Mia. So why would they choose you? Is it because of the connections that you would have from another country, or is it just because you've loud and proud? Yeah, you charm.
I don't know. Thank you for. I mean, there's many ways, right? I mean, number one, of course, there's a network. There's the background. You know, we do have international offices. We have a network. That is fully owned by, you know, it is one person who owns it, so it's integrated. So of course, maybe we have a bit of a wider reach, but also we're new. Maybe we come with a fresh approach. You know, we're hungry. You know, we want to prove ourselves. We want to, you know, it's very. Even in London, after being there for 45 years, we are very much a boutique agency, and every listing is so important to us. It doesn't matter if we have 1, 10, or 25. Like, they are like gold dust to us, right? So we will work our pants off to achieve the result for our clients, you know, that we've set out for them, right? So and there's so much work that goes into that, because when things are going well, it's an easy job, right? You have lots of viewings, you have lots of feedback, and you know, there's offers, etc. Then it's an easy job. It's not so easy when things are not going the way perhaps as you were planning or like you were hoping. But then you have to have those conversations, and you have to adjust. And so,
because I'm guessing that most of your viewings for your listings are with other agents.
They are, yes, of course. Yes.
So you're
buying agents.
You're relying on probably people like us to bring the buyer to your listing.
But that's our debate, isn't it? And not a debate,
to a degree, yes, of course, because you are specialized. You have the operations or the infrastructure to source the buyers, right? Whereas we don't have the same infrastructure as you. We're focusing on the listings.
So. I'm delighted to have listing agents in the market. I think it's a great addition, because ultimately it would be great to list and have the buyer and the seller. But most of you guys are out there offering 4 or 5% commission to everybody else. So it begs the question, do
Why
I need
bother?
to go out there? Sorry, but do I need to go out there and do this, 50 times over, then have a department to service those vendors, have my customer service team to service the buyers, when what are we going to gain out of that? Because then the problem comes if somebody else comes to us, we've got to share the commission. So I actually think it's really healthy to have this kind of dynamic within the market, because you can wholeheartedly focus on that. I've kind of gone into your camp in a way slightly, because Affinity is similar to Cloud9, where it's volume, mountains of leads coming in a month. People there on the phones qualifying. We've got statistics and numbers, and we break it down from 500 clients coming in a month. We want 100 tours out of that. We want a conversion rate on offers and deals out of that, and then It's a mathematical nightmare, really, especially if you're off kilter one month, like we have been in August, I might add.
Yeah.
But we've also got the Fine and Country license for the Costa del Sol, and that is definitely predominantly listings. And as I'm learning and talking to the team, I'm thinking, oh, this is an unusual one, because I'm going in with an affinity strategy on this, So I've kind of like broken the mold, but I'm already thinking, no, I'm just going to use you guys. I'm going to continue down the lead path. I'm going to continue down that path and then come to you guys. Because the other thing is, I find opening these houses up is a living nightmare.
Yes, can be.
I've recently, I don't take clients so much anymore, but if it's a very special client, high net worth, of course, I'm happy to help my team or get involved or take it myself. But on one tour, I had to get a runner involved.
Yeah, you do. And that's what the big boys
And
like
I was
Sovila,
faster
that's what
than
they
the
do.
runner. This was just a disaster, because I'm like, I'm 2 minutes away. And he's like, I'm 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you be? We're in the same urbanization. But do you find that you've got a separate team to maintain these properties and keep them show home ready? And it must take half an hour to set them up, an hour.
It does, yes.
It does?
It does. It does take some time. So it's all about planning, of course. Like you say, if you have a very big tour, then you need to plan ahead. You need to make sure. Thankfully, for the higher end listings, there are normally people the owner has that can help. So staff,
Okay.
that can help set the house up, and key holders, and people who look after the maintenance of them, etc. So it is easy, but arranging big tours is.
It's getting a little bit more rare, isn't it?
Don't you find, Mia, that you tot up your sales for the month, and then you bring in a listing sale, and you're like, oh, it's almost like a bonus,
isn't it?
Because you don't it doesn't go in your figures in terms of planning, but we might have, I don't know, 20 listings, 30 listings each, and they're all kind of all over the place, probably market wise, price wise. But you bring a couple in a month, and it makes a huge difference, particularly if you sell to a direct client. And that's, but then we think, we need a few more of these. But I think our tradition is to be property finders. But why aren't we listing? Because we should be. We know the market inside out.
But I do think it's how many hours are in a day job, because it is. I don't know. I look at my day and. I'm not going to lie. We all know that I'm wearing flip-flops here because I was slightly late and I had to run from the car park to here. But sometimes I sort of look at my week ahead and think, it's not possible. I definitely can't do it, but let's give it a go and see how we get on. If I then had to remove myself to go and sit with a vendor and maybe have that conversation, which I'm sure is no less than an hour or two, then a few more calls, then a visit, etc., etc. I actually don't know if I could fit that in. And then I don't know if I would have somebody that I trust enough that would be able to fit that into their schedule either. I mean, we've got a listing department and I never see them. They're just out running, and they really are running from one thing to another. And that's to list maybe a townhouse for 1 million. That's a nice listing for us.
Yeah.
But then they do the video, then they do the drone, then they do the YouTube. And I'm thinking, another agency might sell this because it's not exclusive.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I know a listing agent. He was part of a franchise operation, and he once said to me, he said, Sean, I just make sure I have 10 listings. And if one gets sold or I lose one, I just go and get another one. But if I've got 10 good ones that I think I can sell, I'm happy. I sit and watch the football and the cricket and wait for the phone calls.
Wow.
So he's
Lucky lad.
he's a decent guy, and he's got it sorted, and he's a very good valuer. You know, he's very honest. He doesn't take on listings at silly prices, because that was my next question. And you know, because obviously we all want listings because it looks nice in our shop windows or it looks nice on the internet. But I see a lot of listings that I think, with my experience in the market, are sometimes vastly overpriced. And it's normally new entrants to the market, or normally businesses such as yours who are probably under pressure or have targets to have a certain amount of stock. And it's some of it is trophy stock. I get that. But would you turn around to a vendor and say, I can't sell your house at that? Or would you say, yeah, I'll have it, and then to make sure that he doesn't get it, or vice versa?
Worry about the
Because that's an
price
ethical
after.
debate, isn't it?
This.
Yeah.
Many times. I've actually turned down listings because, again, as we were discussing, it requires some infrastructure, dedication, work, time. So you have to be responsible. You can only take on so many listings that you will be ready to really handle.
Absolutely.
And trust me, it's biggest pain in the ass to have a few listings that you're not selling and receiving those calls from the vendors over and over.
How's it going? How's
That
it going?
is,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is when you struggle with your time and with your schedule.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get you an appointment or something, and they're not going to be patient.
Yeah, they're phoning
Ben,
you whilst you're
when are
running
you
something.
available? No,
Yeah,
they're just
yeah.
going to go into your office. They're going to sit you
100%.
down. They're going to
Yeah.
be really upset with you.
Yeah.
So once you've had that a couple of times, you go like, all right, we have to be very realistic. So this is the amount of effort and work that is going to be into those listings. I need to have the people. We do have runners as well opening up our houses. So you
Yeah.
need to think about that again. I have 2 team assistants, so they are the ones opening our
In front,
exclusives,
yeah,
because
yeah.
some of them we do have housekeepers and key holders who do it, but others we don't. So they make sure I share my calendar and say, hey, tomorrow we're visiting these 3 properties, and they go an hour before, they start opening up everything, and as I finish and go to the next house, they start closing
Got to
behind
be.
it.
In your market, it has
But
to be.
it's-
But do you get frustrated when you see that listing that you've turned down appearing with, I'm not going to mention any names, but we know the companies that are taking anything they can. Does that frustrate you when you think,
Of course, sometimes I turn something down knowing that it would take a little bit of time, a little bit of education, that the vendor was testing the market, he was a little bit lost, but I just didn't have the time, to take him over 1 year of calling me and blaming me for them not selling their property.
so do you think those listing agents who are taking those listings, do you think they're in a way inflating the market? Because they're not telling the vendor the whole truth about the value of his property?
Of course they are, yes. Yes, I see that happening a lot. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And but they also have their own vision. I speak to those brokers sometimes and they say, no, Ben, I mean, you guys, you're underestimating Marbella. See the prices per square meter. What are the other options in Europe? Where are you going to get a 10 million house? All right. So what quality of life do they have? What are the taxes around? So what are the implications of spending 10 million euros somewhere else in Europe? And you go like, oh, well, that's actually right. For 10 million, we are offering a lot of value here. But I also feel there's, again, responsibility behind it. Our market should be growing. Demand is extremely high.
The thing is, if you don't value the properties correctly, you're not going to get any viewings, are you? So it's actually just sitting there wasting time.
I disagree. I think they will get viewings. You'll get viewings from unqualified clients and unqualified agents, which is a couple of podcasts ago.
Because it's all very well being a listing agent when the market's going well, like you said, but as soon as there's a dip, you're sitting there on stock, aren't you? Waiting for those calls that don't come because we're not busy with the clients.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hang on a minute. I've got all these lovely glossy listings, but I haven't got any sales.
I guess what Ben was saying, it is a responsibility to have these listings, and it's about being transparent and having a strategy with the clients from the outset. And if you advise them correctly, they should hopefully go with you at the right price. The problem I guess you have is listers who have big targets and things like that. People are under pressure to bring in listings, and maybe they do whatever they can to bring those on. I've seen it in Marbella, and the same in London. Overvaluing in central London is also very common. So it's not just a Marbella problem.
I mean, my brother does the London market.
Yeah.
Central,
Yeah.
and a little bit over to the north towards Hampstead and those kind of areas.
Beautiful.
And there's a house at the moment just about to come on at 18 million.
Yeah.
And beautiful house. And he's like, honestly, there's no chance, right? However, if he lists a small little mews house, a 2-bedroom cottage, that's going to sell really quite quickly because it's under the 1.5 million mark, which
Yeah.
seems to be the market for London. I did a little stint in London just to learn the market,
Yeah.
and I was quite surprised how different it is in terms of, I mean, they really do value the listing. They
It's
sent
the
me
king in
out
London.
on a couple of listings.
Yeah.
And
you
when I
have to.
was in the people's property and they were showing me around their house, they opened the cupboard and said, look, there's a new boiler in here. Like that's going to
Couple of
increase the
thousand.
valuation. And the house is already about 2 million.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, really? Am I putting this down on
Yeah.
a piece of paper? I mean, this is the detail. Yeah,
You
I
never
know.
know
But the
you
thing
never
about-
know what questions you're going to get on a viewing. So the more information
we'd
you have,
be
the
like,
better,
look, you've got
I
a
guess.
sea view, but you're missing the Gulf view. So we're losing some points for that,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
but
I
we
guess.
certainly wouldn't be going into this intricate detail about, I've got one new bathroom, I've got a new boiler. That just doesn't happen out here, does it?
I kind of try and do it. I mean, maybe because I've been so collared by working in London for such a long time. Because in London, the listing is very important.
Yeah, because it's quite fragmented, isn't it? You've got to go to that
Yeah.
agent for that listing. You can't.
There is so central
There is
London.
an MLS now, yeah.
There is
There's
there,
long
yeah,
lists
no,
there,
there
yeah.
is an MLS and agents work collaborate together.
They don't like it, do they?
collaborate. No, they do more and more because again, it is quite common. But the issue is, whereas in Marbella, if you bring the buyer, you get the lion's share of the fee, right? Whereas
Sometimes.
But in London, you get 0.5%.
You know, it's weird because
So
I
if
went.
you have the listing, you tend to you control it and you make more money.
It's interesting because I had a client a few months ago now who wanted to buy a particular property, and it was listed on our shared databases. It was listed with about 4 different agents.
Yeah.
And I went to the agent that I knew best, and I said to her, look, I see you've got this property listed. There's a few others who've got it listed as well. One of them's offering a 60-40 split on the commission. Will you honour that?
Yeah,
I'd love to work with you because I know you.
Yeah.
And she absolutely tore into me. How dare you? The amount of work I've put into getting this listing and blah, blah, blah. And she called me all sorts of names. And I was like, I'm just being a businessman. You know, I'm just trying to get a fair deal here for me. So don't worry, I'll go to the other agent. But you've just lost it. You know, anyway. And it was really weird. And she'd been here a long, long time, actually. And it was almost like, I'm never going to, do this disgusting thing where I offer you more than me. And
I mean, listen, it's a contentious issue, right? We talk about
But
this
it shouldn't be,
in our committee meetings for the LPA.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you've got one person doing it, you can't police it, because like Sean, you're going to go to the person that's offering you the 60%. And why wouldn't you do that? So, years ago, there was an agency that came in and pulled a very unusual tactic trick where they dropped commission to 2%. Right, it completely
Slippery slope.
disrupted the market. And don't get me wrong, I understand market disruption. I get it. It can fuel something else and open other doors. But this was absolutely catastrophic. And all it did was anger everybody. They happened to be one of the biggest agencies here at the time, and they alienated themselves. So all of a sudden, they couldn't take a client from another agency because it was completely pointless. The vendors were stuck there with this one, but they were listing with somebody else at 5%. It was just carnage, absolute carnage. So that's just the way the market's going. And I think, whilst that 4% or something is being offered to us,
I think from a listing agent's
got the
perspective, like our job is obviously to get the best price possible for the vendor, for the seller, right? So if it's a very collaborative market, that helps us achieve that for our vendor. Like we don't have all the buyers,
Well, this
but
brings me on to another point, which I've always thought, isn't there a conflict? Isn't there a conflict when you have the buyer and the seller? I've always loved representing buyers because I can do the Phil Spencer from location. I can go around and I can buddy up with the buyer and say, don't like this, I like that, that's good. And then we sit down in the pub afterwards and we put the world to rights. And then we work out which one do we like, which one don't we like. So you can be completely on their side. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them the best property possible for the best possible price. But if I'm also representing the vendor, how the heck does that work?
I just think that to have any deal go through in this industry, everybody needs to be happy.
yeah,
Agreed.
If you go down that avenue of starting to negotiate, and there might be 4 people in that negotiation, you've got your buyer, your seller, your listing agent, and your seller's agent. If you've got one of those parties that's unhappy, that deal is falling out somewhere down the line. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and I say this to my team constantly, you are there, you are juggling 4 balls, and each one of them is the same weight. So don't mess it up, because the minute you give credit to one that shouldn't have it, or the buyer feels like they've been hard done by, you're going to lose it.
Yeah, we have situations where we have deals that should be in bed. So we've got a great offer on a property, but it's listed by an agent who doesn't know what they're doing, or has no control over their client, or it's a mate from the pub. And you think, oh, Jesus. And we've made a really good offer, and they're coming back saying, nah. And you think, oh, come on, we're nearly there. Let's just sort this out. But we lose a deal. We lose income and revenue, our livelihoods, because other people.
I've seen other agencies that aren't so qualified coming straight back to us going, why don't we just drop the commission?
Yeah.
And I think, well, hang on a minute. As far as I'm concerned, we've done a really good job here.
Yeah.
And looks like you've done a good job on listing your property. It's such a weak move. Discredit yourself. Because ultimately, and we've got a podcast coming up about this, haven't we? 5%. Are we charging too much? Are we charging too little? I know the answer. Before you say anything, I know the answer.
That's a whole
okay, the price of eggs, the price of milk, everything's gone up except the commission. But we do a lot for our money, on both sides. Like Sean says, we've got a cluster of listings on our side and lots of leads coming in and things. But it's very expensive now. I mean, for you guys, and Ben, I'll go to you with this question. With your marketing on these properties, if you take something on and they double list it and they share it with somebody else, I guess you assume all the marketing costs on that. And if the other agencies sell it, that's just it. You've just lost out. Is that how it's working?
Yeah, correct. But I obviously won't invest as much effort and dedication if it's not my exclusive.
Right.
Because I cannot, take on that risk too many times where I spend a lot of money in promoting the property and then somebody else.
Do vendors understand that?
Of course they do.
Because I think in some cultures, I think in the UK, you list pretty much exclusively, don't you, with one agency. In other countries, it's give it to everyone. But you're right. You don't put in the same amount of work and dedication if you know that there's a chance someone else is going to sell it.
We do. I know. And there's loads of times we lose out. There's loads of times we win it. But the same process goes for us.
Yeah, the same process.
Video, the drone, the YouTube channel, the photos. And we're just, you're like that. But we get more swings at the bat because obviously we market everywhere. But can I ask then, how much would you spend on an exclusive listing for the marketing?
It depends on the category of the listing, right?
So say it was let's say a category of 5 million and then 10 million. Where are you at with that?
Easy between 5 and 10,000 to begin with.
5 and 10,000. So you will upfront spend that money. You won't be asking it from your vendor.
No, I do. I may include a clause in a term in my contract that these are my commitments.
Yes.
These are the actions that and if I don't fulfill these, you can step out of the contract. But if you step out of the contract unjustified, I will charge you an amount to cover my costs.
So, and do you cover the costs, or do you add on an exclusive fee of a commission as well in that, or it's just to cover the costs?
Yeah, if they step out, it's pretty much just to cover the costs.
And I guess if they're stepping out, it's because they've sold it.
And or because the relationship is not working, or they have expectations that I may as well kind of let it slip if I don't, I don't want to waste my time.
Often?
It doesn't often. It doesn't happen that often. No, I have to say. No. But it's a work of educating and getting those exclusive listings, because people oftentimes don't understand. They feel like it's going to be limiting their exposure.
Yes.
When it's actually the opposite.
Right.
My networking in Marbella is much bigger than yours, right?
Yeah.
So give me access and let me funnel and let me put your property in the luxury conversation in Marbella and internationally.
Yeah.
And I think it's important when you have a very expensive property, if you have an exclusive agent, it's also a filtering tool, right?
Yeah.
So we make sure that the right people come to see it, and everyone's kind of,
And how are those open houses working for you? Because I've seen a big change in this strategy.
I mean, I worked out that you can basically have your breakfast, your lunch, and your evening meal.
Yeah, not anymore.
At open houses.
Everyone's cottoned onto it. They've all stopped it. Now I get a little text message going, Mia, I've got a 12 o'clock slot on my listing. Do you want to come and have a little look at it? And I think, Finally,
Is
because
it the
this
same
was just a
agents?
jungle out
But
there.
is it the same agents just go around to all these things? And they're not the agents you want, are they? Because they're
Well,
many
no.
clients.
Yeah, and they're clearing the food, and the pictures look rubbish because all the food's gone and all the champagne glasses are missing, right? So it's kind of like, how do you vet your open house? I mean, I guess you do open houses, both of you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you doing open houses, Eric?
We have, but I think private viewings are probably better.
So calling,
I think,
me up,
get
things
the
like that.
right people around. I think again, it depends on the listing, right?
Yeah.
And if you have something that's very exclusive, we also have a lot of things that are off market.
Right.
So, that are not publicly available, same as in London.
And
So then it's like,
I think it's a great marketing tool, though, isn't it? If you're in the glossy magazines with
I think
with open day here and an open day here, people know you're active in that market. So if you own a property in that market, you might be inclined to go with.
I mean, I think they have their place, and obviously it looks good for the vendor, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's loads of agents coming in, and everyone's
Yeah.
here, and everyone's taking pictures and so forth. So I can see the benefit of them.
Yeah.
Um,
But when you get the same people turning up and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I guess you go to some of them and you can't. I mean, you can't even walk around because everyone's going around filming everywhere. You just kind of think,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, and that
like,
kind of
you
dilutes.
stand there and wait 5 minutes to see a bedroom, and just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like
pop
that.
your head in,
And then that effectively is diluting your marketing because they're going out with their own videos. We do it. So, we're
I suppose
that's
any
right.
coverage is
Any news is
good
good news,
coverage.
is it?
Yeah, it might
Any
be.
news is good news?
Can I go back to the potential conflict between buyer and seller?
Of course.
And I know because I know this is something that agents don't particularly like talking about, and I think we kind of fudged it a little bit. So
Do you?
yeah, I do.
Oh, are you questioning my interview technique? Out.
Oh my god.
So honestly, I wish I had that problem more often.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. We've had a lot of American clients in the last 24 months, and pretty much all of them, if they've been in a situation where they know that we're also representing the vendor as well as representing them looking to buy a property, they're not happy. They will say, really, you're representing the vendor? I'm not happy with this. So we've actually had to get a member of our team in to do the negotiation on behalf of the vendor, who might not know as much about the house as maybe I do, but they just don't like it. But I maybe call me old-fashioned. All right, yeah, call me old-fashioned. Yeah, I get it. I get it, because I wouldn't want you trying to represent the seller of a property that I'm trying to buy.
As a vendor,
because you're going to be trying to get them the best deal. Oh yeah, and Mr. Buyer, I'm trying to get you the best deal as well. Of course you're not. You can't do both.
I think it's about being transparent.
There's your soundbite.
I disagree. Yeah. That's your intro right there. I just disagree with that, because I think once you've listed someone's property, you've already got a relationship with them. Most of the time, the relationship with the buyer is a new relationship, right? But technically, your job as a real estate agency, which I tell as many people who will listen to me, your job is to supply that vendor with an offer. You might not agree with that offer, but it's your job to place that offer and then explain the circumstances and get your buyer into a stronger position as possible.
But I bet when these guys are listing these multi-million euro villas, that they will say to their vendors, my job is to get you the best deal possible on this house.
Correct.
Correct, because it's a job.
Which conflicts with what I'm saying to my buyer, which is I'm going to get you the best deal on this house.
I know,
No, I disagree.
But then we go back to the 4 juggling balls, don't we? Or the 3 juggling balls.
I think it's
Come on,
having
be the voice of reason.
I think
chip
it's
in as
having
well.
clear what is, your operation with each of the parts. My vendor, I will definitely want to protect him. I want to protect him. I want to have a transparent and a fair process, and I know the market for him, and I'm going to be representing him, right? And for my buyer, what I want is, of course, get a good deal, but basically I want to have a smooth and transparent transaction for these people, right? So once you sit in the middle, you know what are the needs of your vendor. You also know what he needs, what he wants, and where's and so you're in a great position of finding a win-win situation.
Agreed.
But honestly, Sean, this is, I wish, and I repeat, I wish I had this problem every day, which
what
we
happens?
don't. It's 85% of the
What
transactions happens in collaboration with another.
What happens? Yeah. What happens if you have a seller and you know the seller's getting divorced, they've run out of money, desperate to sell that house, and you've got a buyer who wants to come along and
But
wants to
just life, isn't it?
but wants to negotiate. There's got to be a temptation to tell the buyer, this guy's desperate. Absolutely desperate.
Oh,
He
you
needs
don't
to sell
need to
by
do
the
that,
end of the
Sean.
month.
All the unqualified agents will do that.
Yeah. I think again, I mean, it
Fine.
it comes back to integrity, right?
Okay.
Like, you know,
But these guys are relying on our integrity in an unregulated market.
It is. I think also, like, I mean, I've done this for 20 years. Maybe when you start out, you know, when you're 20, 25, you know, you look at the next paycheck but you very quickly realize that if you want to have any longevity, it's your reputation. And your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Like, and the way you handle your sellers and your buyers and your other agents, and that they can see that you operate, you know, transparently and with integrity and correctly. That's generally what kind of.
Okay, I'll stop trying to alter the whole real estate market worldwide.
I think we might do. We're on our. I can see the clock over there ticking away. And
Can I ask another question? Sorry. Okay, so Mia has a fantastic business. They're amazing at what they do. We're pretty good at what we do. You guys are obviously sensational at what you do. Shouldn't we be joining forces? Shouldn't listing agents be merging with buying agents to create a super agency that's got the machine to handle leads, the machine to generate listings? Wow, imagine the revenues, imagine the value of that business.
well, I don't think it would work for Eric because you've maintained your boutique style, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think in theory, yes, absolutely. And I think if this goes out, I might be running around looking for agencies on Costa del Sol after this, but knowing Gary, but I think there's also good to have a balance in the market. Like you just said, you know, you have some specialized listing agencies, you have specialized buying agencies, and you represent the buyers, we represent the sellers. I think
But if you could double your revenue overnight just by effectively buying Mia's team, then
of course,
as a business
of course
decision, that's pretty good. Because I don't know how much you charge, but you know, if a deal were to be made,
I mean, look, if someone came to us or you know said we're considering selling, then of course you'd have to look at it seriously, and you'd have to do your due diligence. Why not?
Other businesses, not the Finding Countries and that, but the Affinities and the Cloud9s are. I almost call them like a biscuit factory. It really, I know, but because every single section of that journey needs to be done perfectly. Yeah. To produce
it's like keeping plates spinning, I think, and if one starts wobbling, you go and rescue it.
So different from what these guys do in that fashion, because you know you're going to have to leave these podcasts shortly, and you're probably going to have 2 or 3 people that you need to call back and have lengthy conversations with, right? Because that's a 20 million euro listing. You know that I'm going to have, you know, I don't know, I look at my customer service team and I'll see lots of bells or dings or that they've booked appointments and things.
It's a machine, isn't it?
It's so different.
Ours is a machine, I think, and it's all about the cogs still working. And
I've often wondered how nice it must be to have a more serene style business.
I think so. My background is I used to work for a large agency in London for 10 years. I ran their office for 10 years for Chesterton's.
Oh yeah.
Which
I do extra well.
I think you do. But that again, it's, you know, they have at the time I think they had 30 offices, and obviously it's very KPI driven and so forth. So, you know, that's again, it's processes and everything's kind of set in place, and that's kind of what you do. So I know that.
You know both sides.
I know both sides.
Which one's better?
It depends. I guess it depends on which part of the market you operate and kind of what listings you have, etc. There's no wrong or right. Both come with their own challenges. Both come with their positives. You know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So
because we got involved quite heavily in Montemayor recently. You know, we have our little satellite office there.
Yeah.
Because I lived there, and we were presented with an opportunity of taking on the sales office.
Yeah.
So we've got involved in listing, obviously, and it's great because I've always been after this business model. So I used to rent an apartment in La Alhambra in Puerto Banús. Lovely development, fabulous. And I looked at the guys who were based there on site, and I thought, hang on, these guys have got all of this market. They've cornered this market. Yeah. They're the only real estate people there. So they're okay at what they do, but they haven't got to be great because nobody else bothers going anywhere else. They've probably got 200, 300 apartments as catchment, average stock value of 800 at the time, 800,000 euros. And I did the maths. I thought, Jesus, that's a great business. So I've always been trying to find an opportunity
Emulate that,
where
yeah.
you can control the stock. And I don't think you can do that unless you're very location specific. I think it would be impossible for me to cast a net over the Costa del Sol and say, hey, list with Cloud9. It wouldn't
That's
work.
more of a British mentality, though. That's, when you have Chestertons or Fine and Country, their offices are probably, 5 miles apart, 10 miles apart.
Right,
You wouldn't go
If-
further
if
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I remember I had some connections with a London agency called Kinley Folkart and Hayward. And I remember going in there one day and saying, how many listings have you got? And they were like 38. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. And the high street was full of real estate. And they said, and we're one of the biggest agents. We've got more listings than anybody else. And I was just like, how are you going to make this work? What happens? And that's when I went into the property and they said, we've got a new boiler. Because that's how intricate it was to get that listing. It was so vital because your stock level was between 30 and 40 properties at any one time.
But it's weird because we are very active in Montemayor. We control the entrance. We'd like to think we control most of the stock in there. And it is about controlling the market, isn't it, when it comes to that? But we still have vendors in Montemayor who don't list with us. And we're like, what? At least if you're gonna list with someone else, fine. If it's your friend or if it's Ben or someone like I get that, I respect that, but at least list with us as well because we're there. We've got the for sale boards and the flags and But so anyway,
I guess it's you can have the two different. I think the synergies are clear. How you merge them together and make a success out of them, the different cultures and the different operating methods
it's interesting. And like I tell the story quite a lot, but there's a well-known agent on the Golden Mile, and we bring a lot of clients to them, and they've got amazing properties, and they always say, Jesus, why haven't we got your buyers? We've got all these amazing villas on the Golden Mile and Sierra Blanca, but you're the agent bringing us most clients. And that's when I first said, well, you want to make me an offer?
You sound like you want to go to the beach. You sound like you want to. I think you've had enough of this game.
No, but do you know what I mean? And that's when I started thinking, wouldn't it be great to just create this monster real estate company that could double revenues or triple revenues and control more of the share?
Wow. And Cloud9 is for sale to anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
There it
is.
No, I'm buying you guys out.
We could go on and on and on. This is fascinating stuff, super interesting. I can't leave without asking you a couple of quick fire questions because of your agencies and how prolific they are. So the villas and the houses that you've got on now, have you got any celebrity houses on your books right now? For Marbella.
You mean celebrity houses that the owner is a celebrity?
The list, well, yes, the vendor.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure if I should disclose that. No, not really. Not really. No, we did have some celebrity buyers already.
Really?
And, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It
good
depends what you
because
call celebrity, doesn't it? It could be quite a loose version.
Could be if they're coming from the UK.
Famous sport
We like
people.
reality TV.
Yeah, that had
Okay.
come through us.
But that's good because we want that in Marbella. We want that gathers a lot of traction for us in Marbella.
It's incredible.
To have
people walk into the
celebrities.
Montemayor sales office and you don't know who they are sometimes. And it's like, and you look them up.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a hotel at last Christmas, and I was at the breakfast thing. The lady was making these Thai pancake things. And I looked over and I went, oh, hi. And as I did it, I thought, oh, I don't know him. It's Phil Spencer.
No.
But when it's already come out.
Yeah.
And he's like, how are you doing? And I was like, fine, thanks for that. Because you feel like you know these people.
Yeah,
and then you remember, no, I don't know them.
Yeah.
But so no, it's very nice to hear. And in terms of listings, Ben, how many listings do you have? Where are you at with that?
At the moment, we have under 50 direct, of which exclusive, I think right now it's 16 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
This is not so much, but we cannot handle much more at the moment.
And your area is where?
We try and focus on the Golden Triangle, right? So Benavides up to Zagaleta, Estepona, and Marbella, kind of Golden Mile, Nova Andalusia. This is where all our listings are.
Right.
Yeah.
And your highest ticket item?
Our highest ticket item right now would be 30, 35. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that all?
Wow.
Is that all?
Where is that located?
We got it. I'm giving too much
Oh, no,
information.
no, okay. Don't worry. Genuinely interested.
Don't look
No, if it's a pocket listing.
prime locations in Marbella. Yeah.
Okay,
Nahueles,
fantastic.
Punta Romano.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. And Eric,
Yes.
listings. What's
Don't
your
tell her
what's
anything.
your star listing right now?
Ooh, my star listing. We have a couple of really good ones, but I mean, I can't really say too much. I mean, we
You
again,
know what
we
this is like.
Pocket
we
list.
have
This
some,
is like Dragon's Den when they don't give you the figures.
It is a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Look, we have some exclusive listings. We have some, you know, we have some direct listings. We have about, I think, 35 direct listings, so not as many as
Well,
Benjamin,
still.
but still. But again, we're a small team. We're more boutique. You know, we don't want to take on too much until we have the infrastructure to do so. But yeah, again, focusing on the Golden Triangle, of course, where you know most of the expensive properties are. So
Yeah.
you know, Golden Mile, Nova Lucia, Benahavi, Sagaleta,
Yeah,
etc.
star
So
areas. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the star areas, and it's kind of where the buyers want
Yeah.
to be, I guess, and where the most expensive properties are. So.
Wow. And if you don't mind me asking, where do you live? Where's home for you?
So I live on the road up, very close to Sagaleta. So
Okay,
on the
cool.
road up
Ronda
to
Road.
Ronda.
Yeah.
Yeah. I live in a little development called Al Couscous.
Beautiful. Very,
So
very nice.
up
Yeah.
there, so
Yeah. And
nice,
Ben?
nice and
Where's
close.
I
home
live
for you?
in Calahorra. I've
Oh,
been
wow.
a Marbella East lover and sucker since we came from Germany. It is 25, almost 30 years actually. I was 13 when I landed in Marbella.
Okay.
So yeah, 30 years. It's been
My
30 years.
goodness.
So you're the
My
East
parents-
Marbella boy.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
My parents got divorced. We used to come on holiday to Marbella. My mom decided to start a new life in Marbella, and she moved to Hacienda Las Chapas.
Oh,
And
lovely.
it's been that corner ever since. I went to German school. I went to Ecos,
okay, yeah.
in
La Marina.
So in La Marina, and I just love it there.
Yeah.
I find it very family, residential, quieter.
Yeah.
It's funny, wherever you start,
Yeah.
you kind of stick to, don't you?
Feels like
It
home,
doesn't,
doesn't it?
yeah.
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 Plus, I got all my friends, my family, my sister, my brother lives there, my mom is there, so we kind of have our
Oh,
little
wow. You have
micro.
a nice network.
Yeah.
Very
And
unusual.
I take the toll road, and it takes me about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's easy to sleep.
Perfect.
It's not too bad.
Wow. What can I say? Thank you so much.
No,
I've
thank
learned
you.
so much again, as I always do in these podcasts. So yeah. So thank you, Eric, Sean, and Ben.
It was a pleasure to be with you guys.
Pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you
and
so much.
we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Super.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of the LPA podcast. A big thank you to Benjamin from the agency and Eric from Beecham States, and also our resident host, Sean Woolley from Cloud9. Thank you so much. And don't forget to join us next time as we continue to explore the Costa del Sol's ever-changing property market.